In 2024, you can have a 7-figure agency with only one person. Alex Hormozi, who's worth over $200 million, did it when he was first starting Gym Launch. It was him and a virtual assistant. People like Nick Cosmos made over $20 million with his one-person methodology. People like Justin Walsh is making millions every single year, literally not even making videos, just writing tweets and LinkedIn posts. So if you're in a situation where you're running an agency, you're making between 5 or 50,000 per month, and you have like 5 to 20 team members, things just feel bloated, they feel clunky, they feel all over the place. Like you don't know what all the team members are doing, like is this guy even working or not? And you just feel like there's a leaner, more efficient way to do things, right? You hear about these tools like AI, like no code, like automation, all these things, but you don't actually know how to implement. So because of this, you're stuck on calls, you're in the day-to-day with everything, you're constantly just putting out fires, talking to your clients, answering questions, you're on Slack, you're doing all these things, but you don't feel like the needle's actually moving. Like you're not actually making progress, but the worst part is you're working all day. So what I'm going to walk you through is how I use the leverage consulting model to go from the point that I just mentioned where stuck in the day-to-day, constantly working, all these team members, low margins, but not making any major revenue, to the point where we have plans of hitting hundreds of thousands per month with 1 to 3 team members. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Ethan Welby. I've built 2 $50,000 per month agencies, built courses inside of programs like Charlie Morgan's Easy Grow. I'm currently a coach inside of Iman Gadget's Agency Accelerator, and I'm currently building a 7-figure consulting company helping agencies to predictably scale up using leverage, using this new model. So I quickly want to tell you a story of when I was running the agency. At this point, I was around 1 or 2 years out of high school, decided not to study. I was here in Cape Town. And what happened was I started running the appointment setting agency. And as I continued to grow, as I learned the skills, I went from charging $500 upfront, $100 per booking, to the point where I was charging around $24,000 upfront for a 6-month commitment. Right? I grew very fast. But it got to the point where from the outside, it looked great. I was making around $50,000 every single month. This is the first agency that I started that I got to that point. But I was at 50K, profit was great, but I was involved in the day-to-day like crazy, right? I was doing everything in the business, but at the same time, I had a team. I had a team of around 9 people running this business, and I was still involved in everything. So I was like, there has to be something wrong here. Like, why am I working all day if I have a team bigger than all of these other people making 100 times more money, but I had this big team? And it was just clunky. It was like, I don't know if this team members actually checked in today. They didn't send like an online message. They're across the world. They're somewhere in like Philippines. I don't know what they're doing. And it's like, it's just stuff all over the place. And it just felt like I didn't have a grip on things. Like I just didn't know what was happening all the time. So why was I paying like $7,000 every single month in expenses for team members when I didn't even know the tangible outcomes of what they were doing, right? And the worst part is we had 9 team members, but we also had 3 or 4, contractors that we work with on like one-time basis. So the entire thing just felt extremely complex. It just felt bloated. And the worst part is with all of this happening with all these team members, the results were worse than ever. But we had clients who were genuinely asking for refunds at the time because the results just weren't there. And it was because we had all these team members, but there wasn't any pure accountability. There wasn't any pure focus for them. So I didn't know what they were doing. The results weren't there, things were being missed, and it was just a constant headache. And at this point, when I was really, really struggling, this is when I came across the idea of leverage. So I actually first heard about this when I was reading a book by billionaire Naval Ravikant, and he was talking about the idea of leverage, in that leverage is using tools that amplify your effort. So probably for the next 30 days, the question I was asking myself every single day, I would genuinely go on walks for like 60 minutes at a time. And I was literally just thinking, how can I apply leverage? How can I apply leverage? And what that looked like was we had all these team members, but they weren't doing much. So the first thing I looked at was, what are the actual things in the business that needed to get done? And I'm going to walk you through in a minute how you can apply this for yourself. So by applying this leverage and applying it to the consulting model that I was doing, which is the done for you agency, I came up with the term of leverage consulting. So by doing this, I got to the point where I had all these team members and I was still working all day, to the point where I had 1 to 3 key team members and the entire business was taken care of, and the results were fantastic because they were using the new age tools, they were using the new tech, they were using the new system. And it got to the point where I literally would just take a sales call. A client would sign up for 4K per month. They would go into Slack. Our operations VA would take care of the backend, so they'd set up the domains, all of that. Our copywriter would set up the scripts, all of that, and they would handle the client onboarding and the client support, which was 90% automated. So I literally just focused on getting the deal signed and everything else was taken care of. And then I just spoke to the client again when campaigns were ready to launch, and it was just like 15, 30 minutes confirmation, and then we got things going. So it was extremely streamlined. So the way that I got out of the initial situation where everything was all over the place, completely complex, is when I was reading Naval Ravikant's book, where he was saying, You want to determine your hourly rate and don't do anything under that rate. So at the time, the business was doing 50K per month. So what I did was I signed an hourly rate of $2,000 per hour. So everything below $2,000, I just delegated to someone else. So in terms of your steps to apply this to your agency, what I want you to do is determine an aspirational hourly rate. And the key point here is aspirational. So it doesn't have to be exactly what you're getting paid now. It can be what you want to be getting paid. So I would select something, if you already have clients, you've already at 5, 10, 15K a month, is nothing under $300 per hour. And then from there, anything that's below a $300 per hour task, you delegate. So things like setting up your client, things like an onboarding call with the client, things like answering client questions, things like appointment setting, even things like sales can all be delegated, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to define your hourly rate, then decide you're going to delegate everything under that rate. And then what I want you to do is list out every single thing that you're doing in the business right now in granular detail. So for example, adding more leads to the campaign for clients, right? Answering client questions on Slack or WhatsApp. Like go into every single detail on everything that you've been doing over the past week and write it all down. Then I want you to go through that list and everything under your rate, just make a note to give it off to someone else. And obviously the best hire that you can make from the start is an operational VA, because literally you can just give off everything to them, like genuinely. There's no like specific thing that they have to do, like setting or sales, and there's no crazy skill requirement. They can literally just do everything. And this will honestly save you hours and hours and hours every single week. It's genuinely the highest ROI hire that you can make, right? Get an operational VA that can take care of everything, okay? And that is the same hire that Alex Hormozi used when he got to 100K per month with just him. Same with people like Ravi Abuvala, who's running an 8-figure company right now. He got to 100K with just one person as well. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna delegate everything that you're doing to someone else. And simply put, the way that you do this, and I'll put an example on screen, is just by making an SOP. And simply put, you just have to write down the things that need to be done to complete the task. Let's say it's client onboarding, right? So there's a few key things that need to be done. So for example, invite them to Slack or WhatsApp, then send them the onboarding form, then schedule an onboarding call, then answer any questions that they have. And then just record a Loom going over all of these steps, so doing it live. And then if you can do that, you can just give it to someone else. And I want you to do that for every single one of these tasks. And the thing that I was saying to myself that I came up with when I was going for these walks every day and just figuring out what can I delegate, is that I already knew how to do the tasks. I got to 10K by myself, right? Which meant I knew how to sell, I knew how to book meetings, I knew how to deliver, I knew how to do client support. Beyond 10K, it's not about working more. It's about applying leverage. So the only thing stopping me from getting to 100, 200K was giving what I'm doing already, the admin stuff, the things that don't produce income, it's just giving it to someone else. And the only thing stopping me from giving it to someone else was me being willing to communicate how I'm doing it. And if I can just do that and give off everything, I can just focus on the things that bring in revenue, like creating content and doing sales, and everything else is taken care of by my team. So do this right now. And if you want one-on-one support from me to help you build this out, I can literally just give you what I used in the past. Book a time using the link below, and I'll walk you through exactly how we did it for clients in the past and for myself. Like worst case, you just take the systems and you implement it yourself. Best case, you add an extra 10, 20, 50, 100K like some of our other clients. So book a time below and I'll talk to you very soon.